The streets of Lagos were no place for a child, but for Ada, it had been her home for as long as she could remember. At just 14, she had learned the cruel ways of the world, how to sleep on cold pavements, how to beg without meeting the eyes of strangers, how to run when danger lurked too close. She had no family, no memory of where she came from, only shattered dreams and an aching emptiness. One rainy afternoon, as she sat under a market shed shivering, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of her. The woman who stepped out was dressed in wealth, from her gold jewelry to her expensive silk gown. Her name was Madam Elohor, and she was feared and respected across Lagos. She eyed Ada with disgust. "You," she said, her voice sharp. "Come here." Ada hesitated, but the hunger in her belly pushed her forward. "I need a house girl," Madame Elohor continued. "Someone to clean, cook, and serve. You have no home, no family. You will work for me now." Ada wanted to refuse, but where would she go? The cold streets? The hunger? With a small nod, she climbed into the car, unaware that she was stepping into a life of hell. From the moment Ada entered Madame Elohor's mansion, she was treated like an animal. She was given no bed, only a thin mat on the kitchen floor. She was given no proper clothes, only rags that barely fit. She was given no love, only commands, slaps, and punishments. Madame Elohor's 3 children, Chidi, Tolu, and Feyi, treated her like dirt. They spilled food on the floor and forced her to lick it up. They pulled her hair, mocked her dark skin, and laughed at her tears. The madam's husband was never home. He was a businessman, always travelling abroad. Whenever Ada asked about him, the reply was the same. "That man is of no concern to you," Madame Elohor snapped. "Get back to work." Ada endured the abuse in silence. Where would she go? Who would help her? She dreamed of running away, but she had nowhere to run. Until one day, everything changed. After 12 years abroad, Mr. Okechukwu finally returned home. He had been away on a business trip that turned into tragedy. He was robbed, his wife killed, and his 2-year-old daughter stolen from him. Since then, he had searched everywhere. 12 long years, no trace, no sign, nothing. He returned home exhausted, carrying the pain of a father who lost everything. But as soon as he entered the mansion, he felt something strange. A girl, skin dark as night, eyes deep and haunting, walked past him carrying a tray of food. Something inside him twisted. Something inside him screamed. "Who is that girl?" he asked, his voice sharp. Madame Elohor, lounging in her luxury chair, barely looked up. "A street child I took in. She works for me now." "She looks," he frowned, "familiar." Madame Elohor scoffed. "She's nobody. A poor orphan, a filthy beggar I was kind enough to help." Mr. Okechukwu didn't believe her. That night he watched the girl closely. The way she walked, the way she spoke, the small birthmark on her shoulder, a mark his daughter had. His heart pounded. Could it be? The next morning, when Madame Elohor was away, he called Ada to his study. "Sit down," he said gently. She obeyed, eyes downcast, fear in every movement. "What is your name?" "Ada," she whispered. He took a deep breath. "What do you remember about your family?" She shook her head. "Nothing. I've always been alone." His heart ached. "Do you have this?" He rolled up his sleeve, revealing a tiny scar on his wrist. Ada's eyes widened. She rolled up her own sleeve. The same scar. Tears filled his eyes. His lost daughter sat before him. "My God," he whispered. "It's you." Ada looked confused, afraid. "Sir?" He pulled her into his arms. "You are my daughter, my Chisholm Ada froze. Her name wasn't Ada. It was Chisholm." When Madame Elohor returned home, everything unraveled. Mr. Okechukwu demanded answers. "Where did you find her?" His voice shook with rage. Madam Elohor laughed coldly. She's a nobody, a street rat. She is my daughter, he roared. Madam Elohor's smirk disappeared. Mr. Okechukwu called the police. As the officers arrived, Madam Elohor's lies fell apart. She had bought Ada from kidnappers, knowing she was a stolen child. She had kept her as a slave, hiding the truth for years. The law showed no mercy. She was dragged away, screaming. You will regret this. She is mine. Mr. Okechukwu held his daughter close, shielding her from the monster's final words. She was safe now. In the days that followed, Chisholm struggled to adjust. She had spent 12 years as a servant. Now she was a princess in a palace. Mr. Okechukwu showered her with love. He took her shopping, bought her new clothes, and gave her the childhood she had lost. But the scars remained. Some nights she still curled up on the floor, too afraid to sleep in a bed. Some mornings she still woke up before sunrise, ready to clean. But every time she trembled, her father was there, holding her, reminding her she was home. The town mourned for her suffering. They praised Mr. Okechukwu for his persistence. And Madam Elohor? She rotted in prison, her wealth gone, her power shattered. Justice had been served. But for Chisholm, life was just beginning. For the first time in 12 years, she was free.
Hey there, amazing viewers! If you've been enjoying our stories, don't forget to show some love. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Insight Stories. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more incredible tales. So go ahead, subscribe now, and let's keep the